Hello everyone, I'm Chester44 and welcome to this Let's Play of Tyranny. Last episode we made our way towards this location, this old destroyed manor that happened to be left behind, that a sage said we were supposed to clear out. Strangely, it seems like the Scarlet Chorus was here, as well as a bunch of squatters and a prisoner. Well, the Scarlet Chorus wanted us to clear out this cave that has something in there, so we can do that. There were some squatters, but they had the way we could get in. We had to kill them. Tried to get on the Scarlet Chorus's good side. Let's see what happens. Anyway, let's go in the cave, see what we find. Something's growling. That's not ominous at all. Ooh, this is actually very pretty, though. Luminescent mushrooms dot the cavern's floor, emitting a disquieting glow without providing much in the way of illumination. This stone formation quietly hums a slowly modulating melody. Its tune reminds you of the Archon of Song. Oh! Okay. Beast people. The shadows shift before you in hulking masses of darkness. As they step closer, the pale luminescence of the cave fungi highlights blunt, bony features. Lips curl back over yellow fangs and violet gums, and sinewy muscles tighten as the beast's clawed fingers spread open. Another human! The largest of the figures steps forward, revealing herself as a heavily muscled beast woman covered in rust-colored fur. Her yellow gaze narrows intensely upon you, nostrils flaring to drink in your scent. Does new human offer man-flesh to Hillstrider's pack? Crying leather-clads offer more bone than meat, made short meals for beast woman. You ate the people who came before. Beast woman wastes no meat, not even human meat. She scratches her belly with a satisfied grin. Oh! The beast people actually ate them! Well, I think we found what caused the problem. Okay. Come, show me your strength. The beast woman rears up to her full height, and her wrathful bellow rattles your bones. With wet, hateful snarls, her pack leaps to her defense. Can you get a spell out? Well, first, go back there. Let's get a spell out. How about this? That'll hit 3 of them. Terrified. Not a good thing. Okay, we got rid of one of them. You can actually get this spell out. Oh, this is chaos. Pure and utter chaos. Please help her.
I need to try a different weapon.
Almost. There we go. I probably cleared that out.
I got it.
Oof. I don't know if they were the problem, but it seems likely. Okay. Seems like there's more stairs up here. Oh, these are interesting ruins. Tearsmen. But is this not the old walls? Do they not realize their presence here is forbidden? Outsiders! Run! The one who got away. Find the leader of the refugees. Ah. Oh boy. iron armor. Oh boy. This is actually quite a large area. Holy crap. The Fatebinder, how did you... I mean, welcome. Fatebinder, good day to you. The young man greets you with a smile as distant shouts reverberate throughout the area, steadily growing in volume. As you might have observed, your presence comes as a bit of a surprise. It's an unexpected pleasure, I mean, to receive an esteemed servant of the court. He bows stiffly, revealing a row of multi-shaped quills along his back. Sage Lantry, how did you... What are you doing here?
I could ask the very same of you. Taking shelter in the old walls, that takes nerves of iron, or wits of stone.
There's running water. If you don't mind a Bane attack now and again, this isn't the dumbest place to hide.
Well, this is unexpected. Though I'm glad to see you alive, my young friend. I'm not here to reminisce. I'm with the Fatebinder now, so I'll need to insist that you start explaining whatever it is you're doing here.
Indeed. Welcome, welcome. I'm Scribe Mel of the Vellum Citadel, though the title means little here. I am simply Mel. You'll forgive me, we haven't been expecting company, so, He taps a long quill against his thigh, its feather plume fluttering nervously in return as figures in the distance move in rushed motions and speak in hushed panic. What is this place? I struggle with a definition myself, truthfully. We call this place the Bastard's Wound, or just the Wound for short. It's a refuge of sorts, a haven for folks displaced by war and poor decision-making. Everyone that's here discovered this place by chance, but remains by choice. The decor is unorthodox, to be sure, but it does come with the benefit of extreme seclusion. Not that we object to the court's presence, or that of the Archons. We simply thought it best to unburden you all with the weight of governance. I know you have better things to do than check up on us. We're fine, really. Everything is fine. You look past the scribe, taking note of the details in this cavernous area. Giant stone walls flank the space and ascend to an open sky, seemingly shorn apart from one another. Thunderous waterfalls cascade down, nearly ringing the stone-tiled islands that comprise the settlement. Though covered by damp moss and man-made tents, the stone architecture here is unmistakably of the old walls. What's all the commotion about? Visitors are always cause for alarm. Moreover, you aren't just any outsider, you're a Fatebinder. To many, it's as if Tunon just strolled into our homes. Your dispensation of justice could have profound ramifications for a little-known and, technically hidden settlement such as ours. Some of the refugees here don't know your intentions. No doubt they have, little to fear, right? Why are you all here? Entry into... You need only fear a Fatebinder if you've done something wrong. Like violating the laws regarding the old walls. Of course, I can see why things might appear that way. He stammers, running his hands clumsily over the scrolls along his bandolier. He snatches one from its loop and taps at it nervously. If you look at this drawing of the area, we are, by way of several fashions, below the old walls you see rising up. So who's to say if we're in the walls or really just underground? I mean, other than a Fatebinder, of course. I merely mean to suggest that there's some potential ambiguity as to whether we've really done anything wrong. Examine the parchment. Sketched upon the crumpled parchment is a cross-section of what appears to be old walls running through the mountainous region of the Bastard Tier. If this map is accurate, these old walls run almost entirely under the mountains. The upper reaches of these old walls are just a few stories above the valley floor. Judging from the map, the old wall slopes upward as it travels north, and slopes downward as it heads south. Cross-section. If the map is accurate, these old walls run almost entirely under the mountains. The upper reaches are a few stories above. The old wall slopes upward as it travels north and downward as it heads south. The permissibility of the settlement depends upon its contributions to the court and its officers. Yes, of course. Absolutely. He nods, and with nothing to say, nods again. Oh, you mean right now? Well, I can certainly provide a modest contribution. He rifles through his pouches, clumsily searching for a suitable offering. We don't use rings as often as we did on the surface, so it may take me a moment. He loosens a pouch and jams his hand inside. Ah, here you are, Fatebinder. We appreciate your generosity, Fatebinder. I hope that you will come to appreciate the wound in time. No doubt you have many questions of us. I shall do my best to acquaint you with this, outpost. Is there anything I can help you with? I have questions about the wound and its history. The analysis and creation of historical documents was one of my chief areas of focus at the Citadel, and I've had enough time to acquaint myself with the particulars of this place, so I suppose I'm the person to ask. I think if I was going to be proper, I shouldn't have asked for a bribe, I just realized. Ugh. What would you like to know? How did everyone get here? This place was discovered 3 years ago by braver and more adventurous souls than Master Lexaim and I. We're relative newcomers, going on about a year at this point. When Cairn smashed Rostrum Voris's manor, his supporters fled into the cracked mountainside and discovered this place. At the time, life here with the Bane sounded better than life at war with the Archons. From there, the settlement grew in spurts. We're far off the beaten path, so visitors are rare, but the few we've gotten have often made this place home. Not every encounter with the outside has been positive. When some disfavored found us, things got ugly fast, but the bloodshed was limited, and the survivors joined us in the end, if a bit reluctantly. I blanked out for a second there. What do you know about this place? Remarkable place, is it not? He stretches his arms apart, looking around for emphasis. We've no idea how old this corner of the old walls happens to be, but the tunnel leading into it came into being a few years ago. Cairn's fury was unleashed in a battle on the top side, and whatever powers he used split under the mountains and fractured these old walls. He points upward, past the crashing waterfalls and towards the exposed sky. The divided walls flare outward, a giant maw stretched towards the firmament. Cracked the whole damn old walls in half, and now sunlight and water are here for the first time since... ever? Makes me wonder if there are other old walls like this that are hidden from view to those of us just walking the surface. How do you survive in this place? What do you eat? We get enough sunlight to cultivate crops on the upper levels. Cabbage, nashroot, radishes, mushrooms even. The biggest challenge here is drinking water, despite appearances. He leans forward while speaking, his tone energetic. It's a rather interesting phenomenon, actually. Something in the old wall's environment leaches into the water and corrupts it, producing a most curious disease in the afflicted. There's no fever or chills, bleeding, vomiting, or what have you, but you will waste away over time, as if one were starving. Huh. Interesting. Tidecaster Wagstaff devised a method to magically treat the water, rendering it safe to consume, and with curative properties for those already sick. The solution is a bit slow at making large amounts, but fortunately Jaspers constructed some stone aquifers. Water poured into these aquifers will drain a few hours later and emerge purified. Between their contributions, we're able to make the wound a proper home, so long as the two keep their squabbling to a minimum. Do the Bane not threaten you? He nods, absent-mindedly rubbing the dried ink between his fingers. Yes, of course, but we have a system for that. You've met our greeting party in the caves, I take it? Incidentally, what happened to... He shakes his head, dismissing the thought. It doesn't matter. The point is that we have a contingent of beastmen with us, and they've adapted exceedingly well to the old walls and show little fear of the abominations. They've been perfectly eager to dig their claws into any that come our way. It's surprising that even works, by the way, but who am I to argue? At any rate, they keep the entry points to the wound clear, and seem content to keep doing so. In fact, I dare say some of them have come to love hunting the Bane. Or just have a death wish, and that's why they volunteered for patrol day after day. Great. So these are the people we're actually supposed to be getting rid of. Let's speak of other matters. What do you do here? What don't I do? Someone has to inventory the supplies, take census, ledger trades. It's all pretty unexciting, I assure you. I happen to like playing steward. Balancing numbers is easy for me, and I have far more responsibilities than I ever did as a mere scribe at the Citadel. Aren't you a bit young for a sage? If I were a tenured sage, it may well be true, but I'm just an apprentice. Many in the guild scribe for decades before attaining rank. As the school is no more, I suppose I'll never officially be counted among the sages, but I am making my contributions to knowledge in my own ways. My master thinks similarly, though I think the loss of the school means more to her. I had a few years to know the other sages. She had a few decades. Where is your master? Master Lexime is sadly not amongst us. She vanished into the lower levels some time ago. She wasn't herself. He furrows his brow, visibly distressed. Life here is rather complicated, and the old walls bless us with numerous mysteries. One of those is unending sleeplessness, an affliction that drove her mad. Lexime? She's alive? So she survived the Edict of Fire? Lantry's eyes widen with surprise, and you hear the clinking of vials as his entire body trembles. Friend of yours? Lexime and I go way back. She joined the school a year before I did, so we were more or less ran the paces together. If she's alive, why didn't she try to find me? Did you try to contact all the other sages you thought were alive? Right. We tried not to cloud the skies with missive birds. That would just give the enemy something to follow. Like me, she probably tried to avoid detection, not light a signal fire. Were you two rivals or friends? Both? We were chroniclers, so there was competition of sorts, but I think I'm allowed to say we got along well enough. Not that many of my friendships survived my politics. I was in favor of surrendering the school to Kairos. Hardly a popular outlook. Remain silent. Last I know, she went into the depths of the old walls. To me, that's a death sentence, especially if she's no longer able to work her magic. I'm so sorry. I wish you had stumbled upon us sooner. Maybe you could have reconnected with her. Her mind was dwindling, and I know she was fixated on making sure everything she carried out of the Vellum Citadel was hidden and safe. She and I hid one such cache over by the farm. The others are, I presume, deeper in the old walls. Lexime knew an old sage trick that conceals the stashes, making them fade from view unless another chronicler stands near. When her magic began fading, she made a rush to conceal things, but aside from the one stash in the farm, only she knows where the rest lay. Huh. Who's in charge here? Unfortunately, that's a matter of debate at the moment. For a while, two men in particular led the settlement. Tidecaster Wagstaff, who has been here the longest, and Forge-bound Master Jaspers. They made it possible to survive here, but rarely see things eye to eye. Were the conditions here not so fragile, I'm certain they would have come to blows ages ago.
Wait a second, Tidecaster Wagstaff? Is that what you said?
Yes, The sage pauses to give Ebb a head to look, and nods with a knowing smile. I believe Wagstaff will be most amused to see another Tidecaster. He's been here as long as any. Most of the folk here credit him with making this whole place possible.
Oh, I'm sure this will be amusing.
There's another Tidecaster alive, yet you seem largely disinterested.
Of course, because all us Tidecasters sleep together in a big clamshell made of solid moonlight. Look, I'm glad Wagstaff is alive and well. I'm just curious why this fucking coward didn't join us in our battle against Kairos. I'm curious to hear what he's been doing that made it impossible for him to join the rest of us in battle. I'm just angry that I can't play my last Tidecaster ever argument as to why I'm amazing and you should value my life over the lives of your inferior followers. It's fine. I'll adapt.
Someone's a little, testy. There was a beast woman, Reef Talon. Really quite a remarkable creature, actually. She held this place together and kept tempers at bay until fairly recently. She was as worthy a leader as we've seen in the wound, but she's no longer with us. So the bickering between Jaspers and Wagstaff continues. Tell me about Jaspers. Look for the broad-shouldered man with the booming voice. He's almost always taking out his frustration on some poor rock or boulder just there by his forge. He points northwest towards a plume of smoke rising above the surrounding walls. Jaspers and his two apprentices arrived some time after Wagstaff. I think we worried he'd be a true loyalist and demand we surrender to Kairos, but he's taken a shine to this place and is trying to create his own little corner of Tyranny. I think he likes the seclusion and being surrounded by a variety of rock types. He built most of the bridges you see here, some cisterns to filter water. He's a one-man work crew, and he knows it, unfortunately. He has more than a few supporters, particularly since he created those purifying aquifers. The water here causes illness, and without his help, most of us wouldn't have enough clean water to drink. I'd like to know more about Wagstaff. Prickly old fellow, Wagstaff. One of the last Tidecasters in the Tiers, I believe. His kind were enemies to Kairos, true, but I'm certain he has no personal designs against the Overlord Fatebinder. Had you told me another caster is lurking in the Tiers, Wagstaff wouldn't have been my first guess, but I'm not wholly surprised either. He insisted the Exodus was a foolish, cowardly plan. least he's sticking to his convictions on this matter. He is not one for pleasantries or charisma of any sort, but he is a master of his craft. He was the first to treat the toxic waters in these old walls, and to date, it's the only cure that works. The wound would be in bad shape without him. Give him some time and you might see beyond the gruff exterior. Just know that he prefers the solitude of his pool, so don't head over there unless you're willing to suffer his glare. A beast woman was in charge? That is a bit unusual. Indeed, but Reef Talon is a most unusual beast. She's a lot more focused, patient, and sensible than all the other beasts I've ever encountered. Anyway, Reef Talon was able to organize beasts and humans into effective patrols against the Bane. With her in charge of defense, casualties dropped. No Bane ever slipped into the common area, and disputes between beasts all but disappeared. At a certain point, it seemed foolish not to have her in charge. We've had a few beastmen wander into our refuge, and I don't know how or why, but life here changes them. I don't know if it's the Bane, something in the water, something about the magics of this place. After a span or two living with us, most beastmen just seem to become a bit more civilized, relaxed. Maybe speak to some of our beastmen, perhaps they'll agree. What happened to Reef Talon? Reef Talon was our bulwark against not only the Bane, but death itself. She had a mystic gift, or so we thought. Her touch brought everyone, the wounded, the sick, the dying, back from the edge, but it changed them. The cure wasn't noticeable at first, but seemingly without fail, those healed would slowly but surely stop sleeping. A minor malady at first, but a cumulative one. As days and weeks go on, they lose themselves. Depression, malaise, paranoia, unending unto itself. My master Lexine was treated by Reef Talon, and in her case, she lost her ability to work magic. Between this and some disputes about whether it's proper for a beast woman to lead humans, resulted in Reef Talon leaving the wound, disappearing into the depths of the old walls. Many of the sleepless followed. The sleepless that left haven't returned, so it's hard to be optimistic about any of this. That's an unusual power? Can't say I've ever heard of a beastman mystic that does such things. I regret not being a better student of beastman magics, but I concur, this is most unusual. What's stranger still, Reef Talon did not boast about being a mystic, and beasts are nothing if not boastful. I have a hypothesis. Perhaps she slew so many Bane their sickly powers have soaked into her very touch. He shrugs, letting out a long sigh. But it's just speculation. All I know for sure is scores of lives were inadvertently ruined by her healing gift, and folks here have some complicated feelings toward Reef Talon. He pauses in thought, nervously rolling a quill between his fingers. None have recovered, unfortunately. The end result appears to be inevitable. Still, I can't help but wonder if Reef Talon could have corrected this. It's a shame. You should know, Fatebinder, that there are a small number of people that have been treated by Reef Talon, but haven't fully lost their grip on things. Jaspers' apprentice, Isley, for one. It is, though, just a matter of time until the worst sets in. Alright, farewell. Very well, Fatebinder. If you haven't done so yet, please speak with Jaspers or Wagstaff. The wound doesn't speak with a single voice, but these two come the closest to such a thing. As you turn to leave, you see Lantry lost in thought, rubbing his cerulean ink between his fingers and thumb. Guess one of your old friends is here. What should we expect? She's an old friend of mine, and by now you've already detected the understatement in my voice, so ask your questions. An old love interest, I presume? You presume correctly. We were deeply intimate for the better part of 15 years. The school gave up long ago, trying to make rules against fraternization, and, well, we took full advantage of living in the modern era of the School of Ink and Quill, when sages could do away with furtive copulation and the foolish attempts to curb the natural inclination of scholars to rut. It was her magic I loved most. She was gifted, truly gifted. She could achieve these little accents on her spells that none of us could replicate. At first I had nothing but envy and hate for her, but somewhere along the line it became adoration, and I just hoped to Kairos that if I rubbed up against her enough, maybe some of her talent would rub off onto me. No such luck. If you were so close, why didn't you flee the Citadel together? Oh, there was a time when we were inseparable. I learned much of my magic from her, and her from me. We are each other's mentor and student. It's a very special sort of bond. But it was a relationship that I followed through my own convictions. In the years before Kairos' conquest, I urged our school to surrender. And urge is an understatement. Rabidly advocated would be a more apt description. Lexime did not share my assessment of Kairos or my opinions on what must be done. I was in the dissenting minority, and most felt I was a traitor, Lexime included. But I wasn't about to back off from my belief that surrender was the right idea. Considering what came to pass, I feel justified in my stance. While I normally adore being right about things, in this particular case my tumescent smugness maybe isn't worth the friendships it all cost me. What do you make of her condition? Well, from the sound of it, she was afflicted with sleeplessness, and by all accounts madness would naturally follow. But if she's down in the old walls and enfeebled, she'd be easy prey for the Bane. I assure you, have you heard of anything like this before? Well, there are all manner of magics that kill a person slowly. Where to begin? I'm more perplexed that she, and by the sound of it others too, were first healed and then grew ill. Do you think there's a way to save her? My mind leaps to the worst conclusion, that like a severed arm, the damage is irreversible. Maybe if she got out of the old walls, maybe if she could be drugged into sleep, or... I don't know why I keep speculating. I assure you, whatever struck her, I won't let it happen to you. I doubt you can make that promise, but thanks all the same. If such a state afflicted me, after I tire of riding without pause for days on end, I'd ask that you put me out of my misery. Deal! Come to think of it, you look a little off. Lantry, quick, fall asleep at once, or I'll have to assume it's time to euthanize you. Forget it. If I become sleepless for all time, leave me at a brothel to die in the company of a less troublesome woman. Okay, Eb, that was good. That was good. You gotta laugh from me. So you two worked on the Chronicle together. We are but two members of a team spanning generations, but yes, we both contributed to the Chronicles. Long bouts of field work and longer stretches of authoring our findings suited our temperaments. My colleagues insisted original research was the way to make a name for myself, but the accounting of everything is a cause greater than us all. Lexime saw the Chronicle as half record of things that were and half record of how things ought to be. To her, each moment we record offers universal insights into how people will act in the future. I take the more modest stance that you can't stand in the same river twice, and the same general can't fight the same war twice, so history is of limited predictive power. Forgive me, you didn't ask for the nuances of our philosophical debates. I'm kinda with you here, Lantry. What do you make of these Chronicle fragments she tasked us to find? My heart sings every time I can safeguard a text against destruction. Still, there is something bothering me about these writings. Let's look around a bit more, shall we? Ask me again when I have a few pieces to compare. Okay, Hidden Truths completed. Oh, looks like we leveled up, too. Okay. Truth... The ones who got away. That's something to do. Let's see. Find the Bastard's Wound Farm Chronicle. Mel said the first chronicle is hidden in the Bastard's Wound Farm area. Search the farm with Lantry present to find it. And the ones who got away. You've come across a collective of refugees inside the old walls. Investigate the situation before determining how you want to proceed. Oh boy. Southeast corner of Bastard's Wound, just beyond where the Scarlet Chorus are camped. I don't think that's the one we dealt with. Denizen Domicile. Insipid Moniker. There's Wagstaff over there. And there's Jaspers over there. Alright, we have plenty that we need to investigate. And we have a level up here. Let's see, for me, I guess a bit more strength wouldn't be a bad thing. And as for this, like I said, I want to work my way towards Arbiter of Knowledge, so... Refuse Pain would actually sound useful. So would Will of Command. We'll use Will of Command. It'll be a nice side effect. And then we'll get Arbiter of Knowledge. I'm going to want Second Wind as well, I think. Actually, some of these are very good. Yeah, some of these abilities are actually very good. Alright, and this episode has gone on about long enough. I think, anyway. So I'm going to end it here. Next episode, we'll begin our exploration through this, through the Bastard's Wound. We still need to figure out what we're going to do about this place. Is it technically the old walls? I mean, the designs are. I don't know. This is a little concerning. We'll need to figure out how to handle all this. But that'll be in the next episode. So until then, I am Chester44. That is Jason Pendragon, Barrack, Lantry, and Ebb. This has been a Let's Play of Tyranny. And I shall see you all next time. What the hell is that?